Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LARP Tales podcast, the greatest LARP podcast in the entire world. My name is Oliver. I am one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my co-host and my wife, Robyn. Hey, Robyn.
Hi, Oliver.
And today we are going to be starting our recap of Empire LARP Event 3, the Summer Solstice. That's the third event, which means we're already more than halfway through LARP Fest season. Very sad. But before we get into that, let's get through our housekeeping. If you are new to the Do Having to Roll channel, consider subscribing so you know when new content hits the channel. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, comments down below, all the nice algorithm stuff. If you're listening on an audio platform such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. We also have a Patreon as well. It is just a tip jar if you like what we do here and want us to continue doing these podcasts and videos. You are, of course, under no obligation to do so. And with all that out of the way, let's get into our recap of Empire LARP E3. Okay, we were just singing along to the theme music that's not here as recording because I'm going to put it in over editing. That's why we're laughing on the intro, but we should be laughing because it was a good event. Robyn, how was your Empire LARP E3, Robyn?
It was amazing. I think actually it was probably the best event of this year so far, for me anyway. And it was absolutely brilliant.
I agree. For many reasons, which we will get into. I think the only downsides for me, I think, were just kind of personal. I put like a Facebook post on my personal page not long ago, just with like a hots and knots type thing. I never really feel like the need to do like
Yeah.
Empire Hots and Knots because we do the podcast, which is mainly our Hots and Knots anyway. So I never do them publicly in public forums. But yeah, my only kind of not this event was just kind of my internal struggles with role playing and the type of role playing I'm doing. But we'll get into all that. So where does this story begin, Robyn? Where does this story begin?
Well,
Maybe
this
Thursday.
time, it was in the summer holidays, which meant that we were both like completely off. We got to get there nice and early on the Thursday. Got everything set up. We had a new addition this time, so we have a 5-meter bell tent. And what we did is we got one of the tent inners that splits it into two, basically. And my thought process was I will have somewhere to just shove all the junk that's out of character and I can just zip it up. And that was I think that's a keeper. It worked really well. If anyone's got them, any advice, because it is kind of weird. It kind of slopes down onto you quite heavily. But apart from that, we were able to shove everything in there. I was able to get some like really nice curtains and drape them on the outside of it and just create like quite a nice in character space there. So I was quite happy with that addition.
Yeah, because when you first put it up, so for people that don't know what we're talking about, like it's a tent within a tent. So it's like basically half of your tent. You put another little kind of tent up, and it's got basically it just closes off. So you've got basically like a bedroom within your tent. And when you first put it up, I was like, I don't know about this, because it was like sloping quite a lot onto like the bed. And I'm like, well, we have to get us because we've got a standing bed. And I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about this. But as soon as we slept in it, and I was like, oh, we got all our stuff out the way, and we got a nice clean area like in front of the tent. I was like, no, this is we're definitely keeping this.
Yeah. Plus, a smaller space is easier to warm up, but also easier to cool down as well. It's got windows attached to it that like line up with our tent windows. So yeah, definitely going to keep trying that. So that was a good little start. We got everything set up. We had our normal cute little place. We had our little courtyard, our walkway. It was just very pretty. And then we got to go do some shopping.
Yeah. Shout out to the camp planners in the
Oh
Dawn
my
camp
gosh.
because it is getting busy in there. Like it is. Thing is, the past couple of events they've been like, oh, it's really busy, and I've been like, it's not too bad. There's still plenty of space here, there, and whatnot. But this time I really felt like, oh, it's busy this time. It's crazy how when we talk about some parts of the event. In fact, we'll talk about it now because we didn't really like spend much time at like the Glory Gala or something and that.
No.
But yeah, the Glory Gala, which was like a big, basically a big party they had on the Saturday night, or the Saturday kind of evening, if you like. That the dorm was full, like it was thousands of people. It felt like it was
Yeah.
so many people, and you think to like E3 like 2 years ago. Yeah, Dawn was a biggish nation when we joined. I know. I've had a couple of people tell me like they've been playing since the first year that Dawn was one of the smaller nations when it all started.
Yeah.
And I know it was one of the bigger nations when we started, but this time it was very obvious this time that Dawn is massive now. There's people that there's so many people that I don't even know who they are. I thought I knew pretty much almost everybody on that Dawn field. Like I looked around the Glory Square during the Glory Gala, and I was like, I don't I don't recognize half these people. There's loads of them.
The photographs from the Glory Gala came out yesterday, and I was looking through them, and I was thinking exactly the same. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. It is so packed full. And I'm looking through them, and yeah, there's people from other nations, but I mean, most of those people are Dawn. I'm like, that's insane to have that many people
Mm,
all like from all in our little nation. But yeah, like looking at the camp plan this time, it was like some sort of strange Tetris set up, trying to get everyone squished in. And for those of you who get higher tents, you'll know that you get to the camp field and everything moves, because higher tents, there's always they're never always like in that sort of right
yeah,
place, and they dictate where you go. Camp planners though, they're absolutely brilliant,
yeah.
so calm, just so organized with it. And again, for those of you who are new, we did have quite a lot of new people coming up to the tents, being like, "Oh, we're not too sure what to do. This isn't lining up." You get there, you don't know where your tent goes, or something's not right. Just go
Mm,
straight to the camp planners because they'll sort it. Camp plans are quite. We always try to stick as closely as we can to them, but don't get completely tied onto it, because there is a very high chance that you might have to move some tents around just to make it work. But the second it's time in, everyone forgets about any stress when it comes to setting up, because everyone's just having fun playing the actual game. So this worked out fine this time. We end up in quite a different position to what we were originally on the camp plan, but we just spoke to both our neighbors who were all really wonderful and lovely, and we
yeah.
just made it work.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when
Easy.
you know your neighbors 100%.
So that was our sort of start, and then we hit the shops and actually started to go and have a wander around this time.
Yeah, yeah. So shopping, not really much to say about Thursday, apart from it wasn't as deadly as, for me anyway, wasn't as deadly as last Thursday, last event. I did not. I did actually. This is the first time I've not been to the Forge. Actually, I didn't actually get to the Forge this time.
Yeah, what did we do? Because we did stay up quite late, but I don't remember. We were in the campfire, weren't we? We were just around our actual camp.
Yeah, well, we managed to actually head around and see a few people this time on Thursday, which we never get to do. It's always like, oh yeah, I'll come see you Thursday, and we actually got to, I think we headed to Varushka in the league and things like that, and saw some friends and whatnot before the game began, which was
Yeah,
few
actually, we
things
had
to pick
like
up.
we had a few things to like pick
Mm,
up and stuff as well. So we went over to this is all like out of cartridges. This is before
mm.
time in. We went over to our friends in the league, who do a magazine called Play Nation. And I highly recommend going and getting yourself a copy of Play Nation. Um, you could probably tell by the title what it is, but definitely go get yourself a coffee, have a look through it. Daemon and Nymeria were on the cover,
On the front
so
cover.
we had to get a copy of it because we're on the front
Yeah.
cover. So yeah, highly recommend going there. But that was actually from last event, but I didn't get a chance to go and get one. So luckily, she printed off a copy for us to go and pick up, which was really lovely. But yeah, I guess that then takes us over to Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you got. What do you want to talk about? Your sword that you got?
Yeah, because we picked up our player packs on Thursday this time
Yeah.
because, right, I had a skirmish this time. And this skirmish was in the Barrens against Rouge.
Hmm.
And essentially, so there is a winter eternal called the thrice cursed, and it's essentially like three entities, and one of them gets referred to as the king, one gets referred to as the prince. And in the simplest way, the king sent me a sword to defeat the prince's heralds. And the
Yeah, they
heralds are
don't.
just like the goons that he sends, basically.
Yeah, because there's
That's-
there's speculation of like connection between the Winter Eternals. So like the thrice cursed, they're like one, like you say, we refer to them as like one entity almost, but they're very much three individuals,
yeah.
and they're tied together by this curse. And there's speculation that like Sorin was a part of it once. I think there's even speculation that I might be completely wrong here, but I think more of them were speculated to be all part of it. Because I've heard
Maybe.
speculation that Agrement and Wise Rangara were also something to do with them. There's like been speculation in the Empire that they're all connected in that way. I mean, they're all from the same realm, so I guess they're all connected. But
Exactly. Yeah.
I know Soren most definitely was part of it because they don't get on. But basically they don't get on with each other. So yeah, the Bound King. I always get them confused. He was mixed up. The Bound King's Tharum, right? And the prince
Yeah.
is Sarut. Yeah.
Surut. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, go on.
yeah, but basically, in the Barrens, there's this Regio, this Winter Regio, and Sarut, so the prince, is sending his heralds there along with the Lord of Rouge to do some sketchy stuff. And the king, so Tharum, doesn't want that to happen. So he gifted me a sword. So out of character, the mechanic that happened here is I got a ribbon in my player pack, and the ribbon had all the information on it, and it's essentially a sword. It's a magical item, lasts for a year, and it allows me to call cleave 3 times a day, and that's like without hero points. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
So that's what we got, and we were like, well, we need a fizz rep. Like, I want to buy a sword for this ribbon. And I was like, well, this is an excuse to get an item that does not fit our nation brief or even the Empire brief fully. We could really go out the box with this. So I tried so many different weapons. I was looking at a mace that I really liked the look of. I thought, oh, maybe we should go for a mace. There was an axe. There was a golden one that I was like, oh, it's very kingly. But this is what we went for. Okay.
Okay, let's try that again. Robyn knocked the studio lighting off with her new sword. Let's try that again. Take two. Show us your sword, Robyn.
Okay, so here is my cool sword. Now, for the audio listeners, this sword, I would say it looks like a spine almost. It looks like a lot of vertebrae pushed together. It's white in color, and it's got lots of really cool, badass shading in it. And if I turn it around so people see the hilt, it looks like it's sort of like all bone at the end of the hilt as well.
Yeah, cool.
It's currently we had to do so Daemon got to actually bond it to Nymeria, which is really cool.
I'm
so
magic now, by the way.
He's magic. Daemon is magic, everyone.
I'm magic.
Yeah. You may have heard of Magic Mike, but have you heard of Magic Daemon?
No, don't. Go get Play Nation.
So yeah, so it's looking pretty cool at the minute. It's still looking a little bit bloodied up. But yeah, it's got a cool sword.
Yeah.
And so this is one of these things. Well, I saw it on the Thursday, and I went back and I went to bed. I got up the next morning and went, I want that sword. We literally had breakfast and I went straight over and bought it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah.
It's cool because, like you said, it's your chance to get something that's not really in the Dornish brief, because you can be like, yeah, this is literally from the Winter Realm, this item. And that was a really cool bit of plot the PD gave you, because they seem to be changing the skirmishes up, because a lot of the time the skirmishes just cost you resources. And I think lots of people have been saying that, and whether there's a mechanical reason or they're just responding to people saying that, but there was skirmishes this time that had things to loot. They had things with lots of herbs and lots of resources and money and things like that, and that was an example of, oh yeah, you're getting you got given this really powerful magic item, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know how, because it's not a unique magic item, but it's got a unique role playing effect on it, right? It's got a
Yeah, it does. I'm going to rip it off. I'll read it for you guys. Hear what it is. So, the role play effect is you feel an urge to cripple or maim anyone who threatens those you love. The more this weapon is used to kill living foes, the stronger this urge becomes. So it was quite cool. I was kind of like role playing this out and everything. And the more that I used it, the more I was like being really brutal with it and stuff, which was quite fun to do.
Also, we're probably gonna have to take it off Nymeria after the year because you're probably gonna start like getting really aggressive. I mean, it was an event for that anyway because you were like, I mean, it's a very fitting winter role play effect. I was under the effects of Fight Tooth and Nail as well, and so was
Yeah.
Morrigan as well. So we were all being quite brutal on the battlefield this time, which was quite
And
cool.
we were terrified this time. Like, but yeah, I mean, that took us then. So, did anything else happen before time in on Friday, apart from the thing I went to do before time in?
No, no, not at all. So yeah, you may as well talk about what
Yeah.
your super special thing was.
Okay. So, last event, Kate, who's been on the podcast before, plays Persephone. And Persephone died along with another character, a brand new character, died last event while out fighting the Forlorn in Broceliand. So we had a lot of talks together. Obviously, we've suffered from character death before, and many of you listeners have as well. It can be awful, and especially if you don't feel like you have any closure because of where our character died. There was none of this sort of bringing her back and having those role plays and those goodbye moments. It was just she was gone, and she was really struggling with it. So we all had a chat and we were like, well, was there any way of getting our body back? Now, in the wiki itself, it does state really clearly you can't, say that you've gotten a body back that you haven't got back or anything like that. So what we decided to do is we all sent our military units to Broceliand, and we're going to send them all there. And then we sent an email in. So I sent an email into Plot just saying, hey, we've sent all our military units. Is there any way that we can role play and say that we found her while we're out there? Can we say that so that we can have a role play moment when we come back? Even, a little something written up or something just to say that so that we can say goodbye to her and help the player through this. And then they wrote back to me, and I really didn't expect this. They wrote back and said, well, what we can actually do is before time in, if you've all sent your military units there, we could set something up in the skirmish woods. So this is what happened. Before time in, so we all met about 5:15 at the skirmish woods. So at like the monstering entrance, we met there. Bunch of us went in there along with one person doing special effects and our wonderful member from the plot team who was there to ref it. And what they basically did is he said, right, you're all out in Broceliand right now. This is during downtime. And you have just finished killing all the husks in the area. So there's no fighting. You've just finished killing them all. And there's only 2 husks that remain. And you're out looking for your final 2 husks. So Kate's character Persephone turned into a husk. And we had 2 of them to go find. So we all started going through the woods. And this was so atmospheric. The fog was filling the entire air. And we were stealthing through the woods with our jester covered in bells. We stealthed through these woods and we saw her. So we saw her first and she was just wandering around, just walking, had her back to us. And she was just almost like in a trance, just wandering around through the woods. Now, the person who was playing her father is the one who took her down. And it was heartbreaking. The fizz rep for the person who played her mother was there as well. And the role play between these two, it was absolutely heartbreaking. It was magical in the sense that we were able to get that closure. Both husks were taken down and we left. And that was essentially what happened while we were in Broceliand. When we got back, we basically we were back still before time in. So we went, sat down, had something to eat, chilled out for a little bit. We put them on some stretchers, and then we carried them from where the food vans are up to Dawn and laid them down in the Glory Square to have our proper farewells, even though what was anything that was them is gone because they were husks. We were still able to say those goodbyes. Prosthetics were badass, absolutely badass. Like they really went all out for it. And a little shout out to Al, who plays Hoops, who decided to go out of his way to make me cry. He came up with a song about the Harpy Eagles on the way back, and he just sung it to me as we walked the woods, and I was just like, oh, I can't do it. He was like, yes. So yeah, that's what we did before time in. We got back. It was really, really, just really magical. So the whole lot of us entered the field venomed. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, just a really beautiful thing for people to be able to have that role play. Yeah, so huge shout out to PD for that.
Yeah, I mean it's not a usual thing, right?
No.
So as we were discussing with Becky on our last podcast, like it's sometimes hit and miss what you can expect from PD. You know, sometimes you but it's always worth, I think, asking, because you might be surprised, and they might be like, oh, I mean, I'm sure they don't, they won't want thousands of people going, oh yeah, can I have this like specific personal plot? But you never. Basically, it's something that kind of catches their eye. I mean, I have even heard, I've even heard, and I'm going to say this, like I've even heard of people emailing in an idea and they've shot it down, and then emailing in a year later and they've gone, that's a great idea. So, I think it depends on what stage they're at, who's available, who's infused to do that bit of plot for you. So it's worth, especially something like that where you didn't recover the body and you're missing the role play. And because it wasn't, I don't think it was an initial like, obviously you got the reply saying yeah, we can do something with that, but initially when you were all talking about it, you were like, oh yeah, it's a shame that we can't like recover the body or something like that, 'cause it's against the rules and whatnot. And it's like,
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, yeah, it was just really nice for them to actually set all that up for us. I mean, yeah, it just a lot of people were there. There was about like 20 odd of us there doing it. And yeah, no, it was a really good way to actually start the game. Um because yeah, we told enough people as well about it. So even though it was a piece of plot for a group of like 20 of us to go out and do that, we told so many people that, see, when we did the walk from God, the amount of people from all the other nations that were standing out, they were chanting, they were calling to her and to them as we were walking past. They lined up and put their swords out as we walked up to the Glory Square. Like, the word had gotten around, which was just brilliant.
so you were out in Brokelian for that downtime. I didn't go with you, so this is the thing. So this is the first. I mean, I've heard snippets from what you told me. You told me bits and pieces in character and out of character about it, but that's the first kind of full account of what happened, because I was just like, well, Damon's not going to go. Thing is as well, I knew that people who characters that knew that character really well were invested in that, and I was like, well, Damon's not gonna go. So I sent my military off to something else. But yeah, by the time you all got back, it was like time in, and I was listening in on general elections. So by the time you guys came round, then you started making all this racket. Like I was like trying to listen to what the questions and answers were from the senators and the generals, and then everyone starts like shouting and glory, glory. Oh, fuck, like I'm like, God, shut the hell up.
I'm sorry, but people in Dawn died. Therefore, we must have shouts for glory. There must be at least one challenge and one almost fight. And I think all those things happened, and that's what was needed.
Yeah.
It's how we say goodbye.
It's funny the different. There's such a difference between Daemon and Godric now that Godric would have gone running out there. I mean, Godric would have gone, to do the thing, but this time I'm just like, oh yeah, looks like Nymeria is back. Anyway, I'm going to finish what I'm doing now, and then head out and see what's happening.
Yeah, so you had the general election, so it was Golden Sun elections this time. Is that right?
Yeah, Golden Sun. So I didn't stand this time. So I had my little practice running last time. This time I was listening in. If people want my opinions on elections and general elections, then my opinions are strictly IC. So I'm not really gonna talk about it here. My opinions are strictly IC. So but yeah, always fun to see how that game is played, and the interesting answers, because it was like Zoran got the position again, but hearing him as an incumbent answering the questions from a perspective of someone who has held the position for so long was interesting. There was some new people as well stepping up to stand as well, which is always nice to see. Then we went straight from that on to like Lance Captain's meeting, and that's obviously when I saw you. So last like E2, I went for leading Dawn. I wanted to be in the command block. Basically, again, I wanted a second again, but I'm like, I don't really want to run to lead this time, but I better stand, so I've got my name there for seconding, so I wasn't like prepped to stand to lead this time, but I'm like, I'm gonna stand up and be like, hey, I think I literally just turned to the people running and went, by the way, I'm a really good second. So please pick me. But yeah.
No, yeah, because I came over while you were just before then, because I was venomed. And for those of you who don't know, venom essentially, normally people will have a bleed count of 3 minutes, which means when you go to 0 hit points, you've got 3 minutes where you are bleeding out. If you've been venomed, that bleed count is reduced to 30 seconds. There are different things you can spend points on so that you can increase that bleed count, but I didn't have any of that. So essentially, I was walking around with a 30-second bleed count, and I was like, it's not a big deal. And I mean, like, unless I get into a fight and I go down, and I'm not really planning on doing that. So I was like, I'm fine. And this is the role play I was giving out as well, until one of our knight errants grabbed me and like pulled me into the house tent. So Thanat grabbed me and was like, so I've spoken to Killian, and I know there's something wrong. And I'm just like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And basically we had this argument back and forward until Nymeria's like, look, I've got things to do here, and like puts her arm out so that Thanat can take the leeches out and do all this role play. His reps for like all the sort of healing game and everything are so cool, because these look like real leeches over my arm, which was quite cool to sort of role play all this out and everything. And that was like a really nice little intimate bit of role play with just the two of us, getting rid of this venom condition that I wasn't that concerned about. And then as I came, because I was like, has anyone seen my husband? I haven't seen him in 3 weeks or something at this point. So I'm like, has anyone seen him? Is he here? Is he alive? And then I heard everybody up at the Lance Captains. I was like, right, Lance Captains anyway. So went up there just as you were standing there answering questions. I was like, there we go.
Yeah. So Yeah, I was aiming for second, but as it so happened, I actually ended up in the field marshal block. Though I ended up seconding for field marshal, which we will get into. Wait, hang on, which day did we fight? Sunday, wasn't it?
Sunday we
Yeah,
fought,
we fought
yeah.
Sunday. Yeah, so we'll get into it. What did we do before like military council? We must have done bits and pieces,
We
right?
didn't do well, military
Mm.
council was pretty close after that. I did a few things
Mm-hmm.
because I was preparing for my skirmish.
Your
So
skirmish was on the
I
Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right. So I was preparing things for the skirmish and making sure that I had spoken to all the right people. And a lot of role play, obviously, a lot of people coming up to ask about the skirmish and things like that. Um, and yeah, basically Saturday was the big, huge, busy day. So Friday, I think we headed to military council
Mm-hmm.
and we started military council and I was yeah, pretty much straight away actually. Yeah. So we went over, we stood behind Golden Sun. I sat down on the floor, got all my notes and everything out because I printed everything, had everything looking beautiful and perfect. I was so happy. So I sat there with all my stuff ready to start. And then military council started and they started with them reading everything out. And at that point, someone came to whisper into my ear and call me away from military council. Now Nymeria was pissed.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing when you've got another hat, you can't spend all your time in military council, can you?
Mm.
This is the thing, so
It led some really good role play later that night
yeah.
and on to the next day where I literally did have that role play with Woody who plays Guy. So I had the role play with Guy basically saying, I'm trying to learn everything I can about this. I'm trying to be present in military council, but at the minute I can't do both. So my focus is on being Night Protector. That's my focus. And I'll be in military council when I can. But my focus is here. And that was kind of like, oh, see, I was like a little bit like, I can't do both because that's not fair. Like, you can't be in both. There's so much going on, especially the Night Protector stuff. There's a lot going on at the minute. And I was like, no, I need to literally
Yeah.
say, hey, I can't do both these things. So I'm going to put all my focus here,
Mm-hmm.
but don't forget about me, please, because I'm still interested.
We're not gonna forget about you. It's fine. Well, the thing is, you and I are a team, so you see, we know
Yeah.
we're pretty much we're becoming staples in that tent. The thing is, this is what I worry about when we're telling stories in the on the podcast when when you get into those like the big five institutions at Empire, it takes up a lot of your game. I really don't know much about like Bourse, how much of the game it takes up for you, but definitely military council, definitely Senate, and I know Conclave definitely does, and Synod I'm assuming is the same. It
Yeah,
takes up
heard
a
it is.
massive chunk of your weekend, even when you don't have the position you're looking to get into these positions. It's a lot. Like it's most of your Friday. It's a good chunk of your Saturday, and then basically Sunday before time in, it's all you're doing. Sunday it's like literally come back from the battle, then straight into military council. If you want to
Yeah.
keep up with everything. Um, so yeah, it does. It takes a chunk out of your event. And especially if you've got other stuff going on. You've currently got a hat. So, and then legally, because so this is one of the questions that I got tripped up with last time. They were like, "Oh yeah, do you have an adjutant lined up?" Because basically, it's important if you have an adjutant as a general, because if you die and you need someone to put your orders in, basically, that's the main purpose of the adjutant, is to be there if you're not around to put your orders through at the end of the weekend. So when I was asked that, I was like, oh yeah, well, Nymeria would be my adjutant. And then I was told, no, because Nymeria is not protector of winter, and so she already has an imperial title, therefore it's illegal for her to put orders in. So you
Yeah.
can't be an adjutant, while you hold that title, But obviously, nothing's stopping you from, contributing to the team,
Yeah.
and Team Dawn and helping out and learning and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up about it because you've got, you worked hard for that Knight Protector position. You've only got another event in that event, two events in that position, and then it's over.
Yeah.
So
Like an event and a half.
yeah,
So, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I went off to a meeting while you were in military council. Did anything happen in between that time before I came back to get you?
Well, we decided the force waiting. So interestingly, this ties back to what I said at the start of the episode. Dawn now has the largest force weighting. So we've talked about force weightings quite a bit. The force weightings are a representation of your like military strength on the field there, or like at the weekend, basically. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's funny. We had Andy Connell comment on the last video, cleared a little sort of cleared a little bit up about uh what the force weightings are, because the last event there was a whole, was there a mismatch, was there not a mismatch? Apparently that some people think there was a mismatch. And the well, what Andy was saying is that the force weightings are like historical, as in like the numbers are projected forward, which kind of makes sense that
Yeah,
Dawn went up by like, I don't know how many points it went up by. It went up by like
5.
5 points. Yeah, so that's
I'm
quite a
sure it
lot.
was 5.
Yeah.
I don't have my book with me just now,
Mm.
but I'm sure we were 49 before, and then we jumped up to 54. This is
Yeah.
before. All these weightings are like before you've got mercenary banners, because
Mm.
mercenary banners can really sway quite a bit depending on where they're all going to. But I'm sure we moved by 5 points, and we became the biggest force weighting on the field,
Yeah.
which is pretty
No,
badass.
we were well ahead. So that's not an indicate. That doesn't mean that we were the biggest nation at the weekend. And I don't know what
No.
those numbers ended up being. I think someone said definitely not. In fact, I think someone at crew actually told me that they were like, no, it's like Dawn still isn't the biggest, but we're the
I
biggest on
think
the
Dawn's still
battlefield.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like in Dawn, and if you'll notice this if you're in the nation, when it comes to the battle, majority of people in Dawn will fight. And if they're not fighting, they'll be on that field doing something. Even our non-coms will come out to the battlefield. A huge number. And I've only seen this once before when I was hurt monstering. So I went back really early and it was weird because I walked into Dawn and I was like, it's empty. There's no one here. Like you walk through every other nation, it's still quite lively. You get to Dawn and it's just no one there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a really clear way of showing you how many people fight. And I made the assumption that Wintermark would have been like that as well, actually, because I always think, oh, Wintermark, I feel like it's quite a big fighty nation. And I was like, actually, no, Wintermark is a bit more diverse than that. It's not everybody goes out fighting. Same with Navarre. So I
Yeah.
think that's what really made a difference that time was the fact
Wintermark have
that,
got
yeah,
a lot of like family, like out of character family units there.
they
I
do, yeah.
noticed, and there's a lot of kind of like kind of mothers and children not, not going out to battle, but they're there. I think it's the same for a few other nations. But like you say, everyone seems to go out and fight in Dawn, so that's obviously where it is. But I mean, that just shows like how much the how much it's grown, because we were a distant third, I think, when it came to size of nations. When we
Yeah.
first started, behind Wintermark and Navarre like caught up to Wintermark, but this year it's just like, well, yeah, Dawn's almost there, as the biggest nation.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it was amazing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, before I came back to join you, because I was about to come back
Mm.
and join you, but Fark found me first, like a little chaos goblin on my shoulder in the middle of this meeting. And I'm like trying to be all serious. And Fark's just here, like, hey, do you want to go drinking? Drink a pizza? Do you want to do something? I'm like, and he was like, is this a really serious meeting? And I was like, no, you're fine. Just keep going. You're going to be my excuse in a minute. And we carried on, and I got to have some like really fun, like serious role play. And then I was like, I do want to go drinking. I do want to do that actually. And we did this sort of thing. We came out, and so at this point, by the way, in the night, just so people are aware, we had an NPC in the Glory Square with a bag of essentially a bag of role play effects,
Curses. It was a
curses,
bag of curses. Yeah.
shenanigans. They had the
Yeah.
shenanigan bag,
Mm.
and everyone knew it was there. And I really wanted one, but I didn't end up going to get one. But instead, I came into military council, went straight up to Daemon, just like went to his shoulder, went, "Do you want to just screw all this and go drinking?"
See, I thought you were cursed when you came up and said that. I'm like, right, okay. Well, do you not want to know where we're going and what day and what opportunities we've taken? I'm being all serious, and you're just like, do you want to just go drinking? And I'm just like, are you cursed? What's happening? What's going on?
I didn't try to do anything to help Nymeria. I just went, "Okay,
I know. I just went, okay.
okay." I wanted to find out where we were going, and
Mm.
when I found we were on a Sunday, I was like, great, let's go have some fun.
Yeah. So we ended.
I think if we were fighting with Zardy, I would be like, no, Fark, I'm going to stay here and actually do some work.
Yeah, so we ended up taking the. So interestingly enough, the two opportunities. One was in the two that we took. One was in Tharunin. So the Druj have invaded again. The Druj are attacking us, but they haven't attacked the Barons. They haven't attacked Ossium. They've attacked Tharunin, which is in Navarre territory. So we were worrying that they were going to attack the Barons again, but the Druj have now so this is on the eastern front. We are being attacked again by the Druj. So we took the opportunity in Tharunin. So there was one of the main things is that they had a. Well, actually, what were the main objectives? And I'll forget. I remember the big
So
bowl of soup.
Tharunin, the main objective in Tharunin is that there are a whole load of Navarre and Great Forest orcs who are trying to escape. The main objective in Tharunin was to hold, because there was a majority of the Druj armies were there. So the objective was hold all the Druj there for 60 minutes to allow everyone else to escape. It was a stand and hold them. Yeah, there was also other objectives, including there was basically a cauldron of such that was going to poison all of the waters around in the area. So they had to get rid of that. Those were the main ones. There was a few other objectives. I'm struggling to remember them all just now, but the main one was hold it.
Stole them for an hour. So
yeah.
that was basically it,
and
wasn't it?
What was interesting on this one, the way it was written, the consequences were really clearly written out. It was very clear, if you do not take this opportunity, lots of innocent people will die. If you do not take this opportunity, all the waters will be poisoned. It was really clear cut. It was an obvious one to take. So yeah, that one was taken.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like an obvious one. I wasn't as sure. Like out of there was 3 opportunities, and everybody was like, "Oh, we're obviously taking this one. We're obviously taking this one." But I was like, you never be completely sure, what the generals are going to decide. And usually when people hear, oh, the Druj are back, we're fighting Druj. Oh, so we'll probably be fighting the Druj and Frunin as Dawn, because they're like our arch nemesis, the Druj. But I have learned that the Dornish players think and the ideas of the Dornish generals, are 2 completely different things, and when you heard the plan, you're like, well, that seems obvious. Yeah, like Dawn, probably not the best people for stalling out for an hour, so Wintermark is way better suited for that. So Wintermark.
That's what I said as well. Like before the weekend, when we were like reading them all, and I was like, oh yeah, Druze. I was like, oh, Dawn can't do that because
it was a terrible one for Dawn.
Like the way that I people who know this better than me can correct me, but the way I feel about it is that if Dawn were to do that, we wouldn't have held. We would have charged and we would have scattered them, which I feel the consequence of that is that a lot of these Druge armies would have ran and we would have been fine out there in the field, but they would have ran and then we would have had casualties of all those innocents escaping, which is why you had to hold them. And as soon as they're like, hold them, it's like, well, that's obvious. Wintermark, like they will stand there and they will just hold them.
Yes, they won't. Yes. So I think, what was it? It was Wintermark, Navarre, Highguard, Urizen? Yeah. Urizen weren't with us.
Were they not? Okay.
No. So then that left. So the second one we took was Madruga. So as people remember, Madruga was basically attacked a couple of seasons ago by the Grendel when the treaty ran out with the Grendel. So we were heading into Madruga to kill a governor. We had to What were the other objectives? We had to.
We had to collect a load of jewels and
Yeah,
such.
collect the jewels. I had this down to a T because obviously I was seconding for the field marshal, so I did at the time. I definitely knew all the things that we had to basically rescue someone. We had
We had a
to
banner with us as well,
yeah,
remember?
we had to there was several banners. I think it was like 3 banners or something like that. There was also some plans that we had to get, and there was a map.
There was, yeah, a
And there
map
was a
and
map as
plans.
well.
Yeah, there was a lot of objectives.
Yeah,
I honestly cannot wait to start talking about this fight because
yeah.
it's
That's
amazing.
Sunday. So no,
Sunday.
it was the best. It was the best fight I think I've ever had. It was quite a unique position
Yeah,
that I saw it from as
I
well.
actually
So
think I would say it's the best fight yet because that
yeah,
was amazing.
yeah. So anyway, let's talk about more fun stuff than just meetings because like
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to hear about meetings.
yeah, the theme of this event, which kind of it hasn't got me questioning my role play, but I'm like, no, this is the character I've chosen. This is this is the path I'm going down. And I enjoy playing Daemon. However, I do have a bit of jealousy for our yo folk in the house. So the theme of this event was literally our yo folk just doing crazy shit. And the nobles just being very just like serious, down to business. We're doing this, we're doing that. This is what we're doing. And apart from maybe Killian, but like like we were like right, we're every time we came back and I was like, oh, because I was like, oh, I quite fancy a curse from a bag, but I was so busy doing other things, standing in meetings, and then by the time I'd come back, all of our yo folk had gotten a curse out of a bag. And they had been up to some crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot before that, like when you were in the meeting. So, like, okay, two of our yo folk, first of all, went off on an 8-person skirmish to get
Yeah.
up to shenanigans.
Yeah.
That's where it started. And then when I'm sitting there with Fark, another yo folk comes in and be like, I'm going to Cold Sun skirmish. I don't have time to get my armor on though. And I'm like, I'll put your armor on for you.
Not
They're trying to
why.
stop them.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Because
I was like, well, no, they've already made their mind up. They are going on this skirmish, so they need their armor on.
Yeah.
So that was quite an interesting one. Like, I know we're putting a yo folks armor on, yeah, but still, I'm like out of character. I could tell she was like, get my armor on, get going. So chucked the armor on, off she went. And then we all came back, and it was like a while later. Oh, I was sitting there having this like really serious, juicy role play. I turned around and you're like, so they're both cursed, and they're going to turn to dust in a few minutes if we don't do something.
Yeah. So two of them went off to like on a super deadly 8-person skirmish against like a dry patrician. And yeah, that seemed to go like quite crazy because they were basically. I think you had been like, oh yeah, I'll give you like basically needed a winter rituals done, so it was like
it was Nymeria's fault, basically.
Yeah, it was Nymeria's fault. The marchers needed some winter rituals done. We were like, oh yeah, we can give you 2 winter ritualists, and they were like, yeah, we'll do it. So that was super. We're like, oh, we might see you, might not see you, but they had come back, and then like Lachlan and Cerinthy were like, yeah, they went off to do a Cold Sun skirmish, but by the time I came back. They were already back, and I was like, right, I'm back from my meetings. Maybe I can do something interesting. And they were like, oh, we went on a Cold Sun skirmish. They were covered in blood and everything, and they were cursed to shit. And they were like, Lord Daemon, why are you standing so far away? Come closer. And they're like right next to me and shouting at me, and I'm like, oh my god, they're so cursed. I'm like, But typical Daemon, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're cursed. And they're like, oh yeah, I was like, where have you been? Oh, we went on a Cold Sun. I'm like, why were you fighting the Cold Sun? Like, of all the things to do, why would you go? Why would you go to? Oh, I thought it would be fun or whatever, as they said. And I was like, okay, I just got asked. So I think there's stacking curses anyway on most of our house. I think
the whole house is cursed. Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
I have this thing in my head that I think most of the house don't think they're cursed, but they actually are. Daemon is the only one who thinks he's cursed but isn't, basically.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah, and they got, because obviously they're under the effect of this thing from the bag, but also on the skirmish they got the Cold Sun curse, right? Which is bad, right? So
It's really bad,
yeah,
everyone.
they were like, they thought, I think it's like out of character. They were like, they thought they read the thing Venom. They just thought they were Venom or something, and they were like, oh, I don't feel so good. So they got one of our Yo folk who's a physic to have a look at them, and they like obviously opened the card and they went, oh, like. No, you're gonna, if you don't get this treated in half an hour, you're gonna turn to ash. They're like, oh, okay, but they were just so nonchalant, and I'm just like, okay, and I mean, yeah, that's why I came up to you. I was like, by the way, because you were talking about something, and they were like having fun by the fire, and I'm like, okay, so you realize these chuckleheads are gonna turn to ash in like 20 minutes if we don't get them sorted, and you're like, oh, really? I'm like, yes.
I think it's like our like I'm not going to divulge any of this because this is still ongoing stuff because our house and another house have had a little bit of a rift. So I was in the middle of dealing with that, and I was like, basically, you know, putting this person on the spot and getting all that information across. I was like, okay, that was really
Who are you
serious.
talking?
Cool.
What you talking? All right, okay. So yeah, so I mean that's pretty much been resolved now. I give people a kind of a basic of it. So another
think it's
house.
been. I think most people think
Yeah.
it's been resolved.
Well, I think it's been resolved. I don't know. It's cool. It's so cool. It's like game. It's what you
It's,
want
it's
outdoors.
cool.
Game
Okay,
of
this is
Thrones
like
style
really
stuff.
cool. Like we have got
Yeah.
that with another house
Yeah.
now, and I'm like so happy.
Yeah, basically we threatened to curse someone who is in the same, who is pals with another, another house. They're part of like a lance that's friends with another house, and they're a Weirwater house, and some of us are friends with this Weirwater members of the Weirwater house. But we heard from the Marchers last event. We had no idea what was going on. We had several groups of Marchers come up to us being like, you have a winter coven, right? And we're like, yeah, what other winter covens are there in Dawn? And we're like, there's only a couple that we know of. And they're like, all right. And then but what they didn't say, because they didn't accuse us because we got that good a rep, is that the Marchers are basically, someone had accused us of like cursing territories for Urizen. So there's like a curse war going on between, a supposed curse war going on between Urizen and the Marchers. And
Which is really fun because like it was the Marcher Egregor who came to our camp
yeah.
to accuse us. And what's really good is those of you who will remember before is that our Uncle Killian thought he was a Marcher for a while. So actually made all these connections. So he's sitting there like da da da, and they'll come in all serious and they're like, oh, it's you.
Oh, Toby.
Oh, Toby. Oh, he wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah. So someone had, we know that this house had thrown our name out and accused us of doing these curses. A rep is good enough that people weren't pointing fingers, but obviously we took it very seriously, the accusation. So that storyline was kind of coming to a head this weekend as well. It was really cool actually, because there was
it was cool. It was a lot of really fun role play. There was a lot of it pushed up my RP skills a lot because I had 3-4 different incidents where I was sitting one-on-one with another person in this house, basically being like, well, this is what I've been told. What's your side of it? And basically interrogating in a sense and having that conversation. I was like, oh, this is kind of like, oh, this is fun doing this sort of role play because, and then I had people like from the house coming to find me and I was like, okay, come on then, let's have a chat. It was good fun.
Yeah. I mean, also as well, you've got all the different. This is why I like the Game of Thrones vibe in Dawn, because it's not just, we're not just, oh yeah, we're all just like part of the same group. No, we're families. So and all your family members, they've all got their own personalities. They're all different. They're all out for their own thing. So my interaction with one member from that house is going to be different from your interaction with that member and all the other different members. And we were all trying to do also because we're all in the same territory. It was the Weirwater election as well, so it was really cool political stuff.
Well, like I like the different reputations that each of us are getting because like I literally had a chat with Morgan who was like, oh, I need to go and speak to such and such. Would you like to come with me? Just to stand there. And I was like, that's quite cool. So I'm like getting the reputation. I'm just going to stand there. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to stand there. I'm just going to watch what you're doing. But Yeah, so we had all that, and then obviously, yeah, that's when you came and you're like, yes, and that is what you said, isn't it? Like, these two clowns are going to turn to dust in,
I
in 20
call them
minutes.
clowns, but I call them
call them something.
I think I called them chuckleheads. I think because they were just
Oh, that
like
was it.
they were being daft, and they were just like, oh, I think I'm going to turn to dust. I'm like, okay, so
Walking them, honestly, could we end up being like, right, we
take you
need
to the hospital.
we're going to take him to hospital.
Yeah.
We'd lost Bark at this point. That story comes back around later. So we were like, okay, let's get you off to the hospital because things are happening here. So we like dragged them to the hospital. It's quite funny because they were just being like so like la la la, like chatting to people on the way. And like Nymeria at one point, like literally put her hand on one of them, was like, stop talking to people and move. Like, I will carry you myself. We're not losing your folk today.
I mean, because I think Lachlan was like, oh, we've got a whole like 30 minutes. It's like, I'm just like, yeah, but it only takes like something wrong going on in the hospital. What if a skirmish comes through and this hospital is like rammed or something? And also, yeah, like so the Cold Sun Curse needs a day ritual done. So yeah, it depended on there being an actual day ritualist there at the time to actually do the ritual as well. It was way gone time anyway that skirmishes were going out, so the hospital was quite quiet anyway. So,
oh wait, we found out when we got back that we're literally camped right next to a house that we're very close to. Who said, "I can solo that. I would have just done it for you." Yeah. We're like, okay, so for next time, we now know where to go.
The next time we're cursed with
oh my god, we got them there. They're fine. They're not dust. They're not dust this time. It was fine.
Yeah, it was all fine. This theme continues of I absolutely love it, by the way. I love the Yo folk acting that way, and the nobles being because later on in the weekend we were like we scolded one of our Yo folk, and we were all just like, angry parents. There's a definite split between the nobles and the Yo folk of our house, which I really appreciate.
It is fun.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, so we got that sorted out of the hospital. Now, I think this is when we then got back to Dawn, spoke to people in the military council, figured out what was happening. Did we then head out drinking with Reapers, or was that on the Saturday?
No, that was Friday.
This is Friday. Okay, cool. So I think we did it both nights. That's why I'm getting confused.
No, because I think because we ended up at like Belikov's and we didn't see Belikov on Saturday or Sunday, so.
That's right. So this was the night with Belikov and everything. Okay, perfect. So at this point, Fark turns up being like, "Where'd you go?" Left him at our tent that whole time. We're like, where did you go?
Who's like, I said I was going to the toilet. I have no recollection. I have no recollection of saying that. Just like, right, let's go out to the hospital, take our Yo folk, make sure they don't get turned to ash, and then we went off to where did we go? The Orcs? Was it like?
I went to the Orcs.
Yeah, that was quite funny because
we went Orcs next. Yeah.
That was quite funny because we were following like a load of Crimson Reapers. Because they were in Wise Guys and they were heading out. We were just we'll just follow. Not the best group to follow in that circumstance, because I realize now that I must be a veteran player on that field, because they're like, we're going to this bar, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've not been to this bar, but I feel like I've been here in a past life. Because Godric went to that bar several times. I'm like, it's
the
this
Orc
way.
bar
is
that way. Not there. It's in the bar entrance.
I'm like, okay, we'll meet them there. And then they apparently did a massive detour. I'm like, I don't think they know where they're going. So
no, they ended up in the Imperial Orcs, but I think some of the Imperial Orcs just had a bit of fun with them. We're like, yeah, this is the bar. Take a seat. And I think they just literally just like made them drink some random stuff. And then we ended up there next to the Courage car.
Did you get anything from that cart?
No, I didn't. No. And I'm going to next time, because I watched someone do it and I was like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
So the Courage cart. Yeah. So it's a sandwich. Okay. It's a Courage sandwich. and you essentially have dice that you roll, and it gives you different ingredients. So you could end up with something particularly nasty, but you can re-roll certain things, or you can like pay extra to re-roll stuff and everything. And yeah, it's basically a cheap sandwich because you're rolling for it. And I watched people do that because I was starving at this point, and I came so close to just getting one. But I didn't. So we had a load of drink.
Yeah. Friday's a bad one for not eating. I find I always because
Yes.
basically I will eat like breakfast and then I'm like, oh yeah, we'll go off and do this, that, the other, and then oh no, we need to go get weapons checked, do this, that, the other. Oh, we're getting better, getting the kit, and then it's like, oh, time in 6 o'clock, and you haven't had your dinner before time in, and then you're like, then all this stuff happens, and then you're like, oh damn, it's like 11 o'clock midnight, and I haven't eaten yet,
Yeah, like
since
the
breakfast.
good thing, yeah, like the good thing about Saturday is that battle gives you a clear lunchtime. Like by the time the battle finishes and you get into your kit if you were monstering, or you get cleaned up if you were battling, you're normally round about that midday point. So like, okay, I'm going to get lunch now and then come back, and then you've got a nice stretch before you then feel like you can nip off and get dinner without missing things. So that's what I like about that. But yeah, no, we were rubbish with eating on Friday as usual.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and then
but yeah, then we
headed up
went
to
to
the marches.
marches.
Yep, up to the Black Rat.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, there was a very generous winter marker that was who we actually know because we know them out of character. We don't really know them that well in character. We were at the Reaper's Rest with them, but they were being very generous with their coin, being very very prosperous. So yeah, a lot of people were following around. They put some money behind a few of the bars, and we're at the Black Rat. So I'm there talking to the Crimson Reapers, and then you go, oh, I'm going to go get something to eat because you hadn't gathered anything to eat at that point. And I was like, okay, well, you are you okay heading back yourself? Yeah, yeah, fine. I'll either go back to camp and get something, or I'll go to the food vans and get something. I'm like, cool, okay. Well, I was like, come back here. I said, if we move on, or if we have to move on, I'll tell the people at the Black Rat where we've gone. You're like, cool. So half an hour went by, and then an hour went by, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna stay here because I don't think because it's getting late, like really late now. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna, because everyone was like filtering away. They weren't moving on to another bar really. So I was like, okay, and so I ended up speaking to some Barushkins for a while who were a little bit inebriated, and I'm like. So they talked to me until like the Black Rat literally closed. I'm like stood there on my own. I'm like, Well, I'm aware that I'm like, I'm on the other side of the field, and I know that my wife has to walk in the dark over to here. I'm not gonna leave here. So I'm like, but it got to the point where I'm like, right, okay, she's clearly not coming. So I then literally had to tell the people in the back, I'm like, by the way, if Nymeria comes over here asking, I've gone back to camp, so I walk all the way back to camp, and you're not there either. So I'm like, where is she? And on the way, I'm getting like stopped, and I'm doing like bits of role play with people as well on the way. And then I'm like, you know what? I just had a feeling that you were at Belikov's because I was like, well, she's not here. She's not up with the orcs. She's not at the marches, so she must be over in Varushka. So I'm like, okay, I'll start heading over to Varushka. I got caught by
I love that. She's not with the orcs. She must be with Belikov.
So I'm like, right, okay, because you went in dawn, so I'm like, right, okay, I'll head over there. And by the way, this is like 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'm like, I'll head over there, see what's going on. I get caught a couple of times as well, talking politics and things like that, and I'm just like, this is just Daemon's life at the minute. It is just serious conversation after serious conversation where everyone around him is acting crazy and having a blast. And they come around the corner, and there's you, and there's Fark and Lachlan. When did you pick Lachlan up, by the way?
I have no memory of when we picked Lachlan up.
So I come in, and then Belikov's doing he's doing like serious thing. He's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm having a conversation here. It's super, super serious. Basically, that was the vibe. And I was like, oh yeah, Nymeria's been looking for you. I'm like, has she though? Has she been looking for me? It doesn't look like it. So you were there, partaking of all the Varushkan hospitality. Um,
Great.
and I was like, where were you? And you were like, we were just coming up to the marches. And I'm like, were you though? Were you? It doesn't look like you were about to head to the
Time on
marches.
my side of this. So I leave the Black Rat and I bump into Fark, and Fark's like, no, I'll come with you. Let's go get something to eat. Yeah. So went back to my camp and I just grabbed a load of food that I'd like stashed in the tent. So I like sat there eating just like, chicken and baby bells. Literally, that was my dinner. So I sat there eating away, and that's when we picked up Lachlan. So we're there chatting to Lachlan and everything. And then I was like, right, we should have out to marches. And Fark was like, why don't we go see Belikov first? I was like, that's a great idea. Okay, let's go see Belikov first. I got to Belikov's. That was fun. There was a bit of drama. I like a bit of drama. Belikov went scary Belikov at one point. I've never seen this before. It was really cool. But plus, I'd had so much to drink that I decided to do what I felt was a really smart thing. I was like, I'm going to leave my sword at my camp because out of character, I am drunk and I know me. And if a fight breaks out, I know I'll take my sword out and be like, I can take them. So I'm like, I'm going to be really smart. I'm going to leave my sword here. God, did I regret that? Because that would have been really cool to have my sword. So yeah, got there. I ended up having a really cool conversation actually with the general of the
Iron Helms.
Iron Helms. I was thinking Iron Helms, and then I went, no, wait, it definitely. I had a chat with the general Iron Helms. It's really cool because I haven't had role play with them before. So we had a chat, I chat with Belikov. There were Fark, obviously. Lachlan was gambling. Like, yeah, there was a lot of gambling happening. It's great fun. And I met this like Varushkan player, it was really cool. And we ended up chatting, role playing for ages. And then I was like, right, you guys are all fine here. I should probably head to the marchers and try and find Daemon. And then this Varushkan person was like, I'll come with you, And then like Fark was like, I'm gonna stay here. Yeah, definitely go with this person as well. And I was like, yeah, cool and everything. Out of character, I don't walk about by myself at night anywhere. So I was like, yeah, this person, yeah, I'm gonna go with them. So we made a whole plan. I was like, okay, let's go find Daemon. And at that moment, you came up, and this Varushka player went, I found Daemon. I was like, how did you do that? It's amazing. I didn't realize hours had passed at this point.
Hours. It was like 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, I'm like, okay, well, I'm here now, and they're like, oh, do you want to gamble? And I'm just like, what's the? And this was my peak Dornish noble roleplay moment of the entire weekend. I sit down and they're just playing. I don't know what the game is called. It's basically, I knew what the game was out of character. In character, I was just like, okay, how do I play? And they're like, okay, you just roll, and you either keep rolling, or you can save the number you've got, and then it moves on to the next person, and the person.
Or if it ends in a 1, it moves on to the next person.
Or if it lands in a 1, that goes to the next person. So wait, really? I thought it went to 0. What? No, 1. No, 1. It definitely goes to 0, which then goes to the next person. So I was like, okay, cool, and I won like 3 rounds, not in a row, but I won like 3 rounds. And the funny thing was, because obviously you put in, everyone puts in coin, and then the person who wins just takes the pot. I didn't put any money in, and I won like 3 times because look, my yo folk just kept putting money in for me, and I'm just like, oh great, and I won like 3 times, and I tell you what, one of them was like it was like a 47. Now I don't know the odds. Now like a maths geek could probably would want to come up with a math geek could probably sit down and work out the maths. I'm pretty sure the odds are quite low for beating a 47 basically. So I was just like, oh no, it was above 50. So the second round I won was above 40, and the third one was above 50. So I kept rolling like 5s and 6s, and so I won that, and they're just like, Yeah, I think you should stop. I was like, it's a good game, and they're like, yeah, I think you should stop playing. You're way too good. I'm just like, it was just peak Dornish Noble. I was just like, oh, this is a great game. I just roll the dice. I just take this money. Awesome. And I put it into my pouch. I didn't put it in my yo folks pouch. I just went, oh, cool. I just put it.
This is how the nobles of House Morterra are going to actually pay back everything they've taken out for all the potions and magical items, gambling in Brushka.
Hey, I will say for any of our house members that are listening, we take the piss, but we put a lot in that house pot.
I put 6 thrones in last time.
Yeah. We like to play at it, but we put a lot in there. So yeah, I mean that was pretty much the night. I think we left
Lachlan
folk,
there.
yeah, just to carry on being crazy.
So it was about 3:30 in the morning. We left him there. He was having fun. It's fine.
Yeah.
And we went back to our tents. And we kind of like ended the night there actually. We kind of headed back, got ourselves all sorted out and stuff. Yeah. And the next morning came. And I was like, should I check his tent? Like, would he mind if I just go and just have a quick look and just make sure he's actually there? And I was like, I'll start making the coffee. You know, this is like 6:45 or something. And he's like, hello. And I'm like, where did you get back? He was like, 5? I was like,
it's 7 now.
How long did you sleep for? He was like, oh, an hour and a half, I think. It's like, what the heck? This was a theme for the weekend, by the way. This was just a Friday night.
Yeah. No, our yo folk really were all just like
our yo folk are hardcore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't even mention like Killian and Thanat they had a different curse from Cerinthian Lachlan, so they out the bag, so that they got one that was like they want to try new things.
Yeah.
So they were just going, oh yeah, we'll try this, try that. They ended up doing a Twilight Masquerade. So people who don't know what Twilight Masquerade is, it's a night ritual that magically changes your lineage for an event. I think it's an event, or is it for until the next event? I don't know.
I don't know actually. Somebody knows.
It might be until the next PD event, or it
Yeah.
might just be for But anyway, they got so it was quite funny roleplay though, because they got their lineage changed, you know, and obviously the effects of the curse, which was a bit like being on a drug, basically. Wore off in the morning, but obviously the Twilight Masquerade was still in effect, so they all woke up being like, ah, where are my horns? Or why have I got scales on me?
Draugr Killian was a good look. Like there was just, I was like, this is a good look.
Yeah, Draugr Killian was something else. But I mean that was the thing. I don't know. But we're well over time on this episode, but yeah, I said at the beginning, like I was a bit, I kind of struggled in my role play, not because I don't like how I'm role playing Daemon, but I look at everyone else having fun in their own way, and I worry sometimes because I play quite a serious character that I worry that other people aren't having fun role playing with me, if you know what I mean. Like, so like I'm having fun in that interaction, but are other people having fun in that interaction? You know, if I'm like scolding my yo folk, are they having fun? Or, you know, and it's yeah, like I put this on Facebook, and Martin actually was given a bit of advice, and he said that type of character, like Martin, you know, teaches acting and that, and it was like that type of character, that type of role play can be like a form of repression, because you're very buttoned up and you're not like doing things, you know. It's you're constantly having to like dial things back, you know, so all you end up doing is just reflecting in, you know, so you're very, very hyper focused on all the inputs, because you're not putting any out, you're controlling your output basically. So
like that's the thing, like Nymeria's got very similar role play, but I gave myself an out early on. I thought I can't I can't be that serious the entire weekend. So I'm going to give myself an out. And my out was simply that because she was originally an Orzel, when she's with the Orzels, she relaxes a bit and almost goes slightly back to what she was like before, and can get a little bit of that silliness and that fun and that laughter.
Also, you're a
And she
changeling
is
as well.
relaxed. Yeah, the changeling helps.
Yeah.
And she relaxes with Daemon. She's
Mhm.
very different with Daemon than with anyone else, which gives her that out. But I couldn't keep up the seriousness all the time.
Yeah.
It can be quite difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I kind of want to work on. It's good because basically I'm just trying to stretch myself in role play. It's very easy to play someone. That's why a lot of people will just play themselves in a fantasy setting because it's easy. Like Godric was really easy to play because he was a lot more like me than Daemon is. You know,
Yeah.
he was very you know, his insecurities were like shared with my insecurities, so it was easy to role play insecurities. But when you've got trying to play a character that doesn't have the same insecurities as you and has different insecurities than you do as well, that's where it gets a little bit tough. So it's completely self-inflicted. I'm not going, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm having fun in this game. I'm literally just, I like to, you know, I think people like to hear other role players talking about this type of thing because
Yeah.
a lot of role players want to stretch themselves. You know, some people have their little like wheelhouse and they're like, no, I'm only playing elf bards, and that's all that's all I want to play.
What kind of people would those be?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Nymeria is quite outside your normal wheelhouse actually as well. You know, so
Yeah,
uh,
like also I played a little bit with fears and phobias with this one. In real life, I'm petrified of spiders. Like like unlogically scared of spiders. And I decided that Nymeria is not scared of spiders. In fact, she loves them and she cherishes them. So, and I pushed myself this event. I don't know if this is actually delves into role play or not, but because it was really hot, there's a lot of little like spiderlings around the place. I don't know if people noticed that this event, there was quite a lot of them. The amount of times I had the little spiders on my arms and I was just like picking them up and putting them on the ground, just really relaxed and everything. Inside, I was like, there's a spider. And I was like, no, Miriam's not scared of spiders, remember? I was like, okay, let's play with this. This was like a unique sort of thing to do, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, we'll definitely we'll well, I mean, I've got a guest in mind that we can talk about this with, and I think we'll have a good conversation. But I could talk
Yeah,
about this for a while. But yeah, it's when you're playing a character, you tend to, especially in moments of like discomfort, or yeah, you get to that flight or fight, and there's lots of times in life where you're nervous about, you know, even like you can tell when people are nervous as well, even like experienced role players, and you're like, oh god, you're actually nervous in this moment, you know, and you're actually surprised that they're nervous. But when you're trying to play a character that isn't nervous in that time, that's really difficult because, you know, we all do things because usually um like if I'm nervous in real life, I will uh yeah, I will kind of speak a bit louder and be and gesticulate more. You know, if I'm doing a podcast and I'm nervous about doing a podcast, or if I'm doing, you know, if I'm broadcasting something live or something like that, I'll be like, oh, and I'll throw my hands around. But I'm like, okay, well, when I'm Daemon, that's not what I'm like. So I'm taking that away from myself. That comfort of being able to do
yeah,
that. That's the difficult bit. But I'm enjoying exploring it, you know, exploring it. But
yeah.
it has
It's
put
good fun.
it's put a few little doubts in my head, being like, can I actually do this? You know, especially when I'm going into heavier because that's the type of character I have as well. It's like he lends himself to PvP, but I'm like, am I ready for that type of thing? But anyway, we will discuss that. We will discuss. God, that's already like an hour and 20 minutes. So that's Friday. Saturday we've got monstering coming up. We've got skirmishes, a really good skirmish. It was super fun for the Night Protector of Winter. We went, we saw a plenipotentiary to go meet an Eternal. We did. What else did we do on Saturday? There was the gala. There was lots going on Saturday. And then Sunday was our nation's battle as well. And we did military council stuff and some interesting things there. We'll be covering those in the next 2 episodes. So if you enjoyed this show, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to just an audio platform, give us a 5-star review. Go check out the Patreon. We're going to be, the next 2 episodes are going to be covering E3. We've got guests hopefully coming after that as well before E4. So until then, we will say goodbye, and we love you very much. And stay safe. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.